Somewhere in the vast night sky above the Pacific Ocean, a plane crosses the invisible boundary between continents. Through its windows, lights flicker across endless coastlines, and beyond those faint glimmers lie stories older than recorded history. Beneath the clouds, immense landscapes unfold, deserts stretching farther than the horizon, mountains crowned with ice, forests dense with secrets yet to be uncovered. This is Asia, a continent so large that nearly two-thirds of humanity call it home. Yet for many in the Western world, Asia remains a distant idea, a mosaic of cultures, traditions, and mysteries that few truly understand. Imagine for a moment the feeling of stepping onto the ancient Silk Road at dawn. The cool desert air brushes your face, and the faint scent of spices drifts toward you. Merchants carrying silks, jade, paper, and tea prepare their caravans. Camels groan in anticipation of the weeks-long journey ahead. For thousands of years, these routes connected the Pacific to the Mediterranean, shaping the world through the exchange of goods, ideas, languages, and beliefs. Asia, even before nation-states and modern borders, was already spinning a web that would eventually entangle the entire globe. To understand Asia, we must first comprehend its sheer scale. Stretching from Turkey in the west to Japan in the east, from the frozen Siberian tundra to the tropical shores of Southeast Asia, the continent spans nearly 17 million square miles. It contains the Earth's tallest peak, Mount Everest, and its deepest depressions near the Dead Sea. Its climates range from scorching deserts in the Middle East to monsoon-soaked rice fields in Vietnam. What binds these diverse regions and peoples together isn't a single identity, but an ongoing story, one shaped by migration, innovation, belief, and sometimes brutal conflict. Scientists believe that Asia was critical to early human migration. Genetic evidence suggests that some of the earliest waves of Homo sapiens leaving Africa first settled in the Arabian Peninsula, before spreading across South and Southeast Asia. Over tens of thousands of years, new linguistic, cultural, and technological traditions developed across the continent. Early civilizations arose in fertile river basins where water, agriculture, and human ingenuity converged. In Mesopotamia, located in modern Iraq, one of the world's earliest urban societies formed near the Tigris and Euphrates rivers. These cities pioneered writing, administration, and trade networks that influenced civilizations around them. To the east, the Indus Valley civilization developed sophisticated urban planning with drainage systems that remained unparalleled for millennia. And further still, the Yellow River region in northern China gave rise to dynasties that would shape Asian culture for centuries. These early civilizations weren't isolated phenomena. They interacted, traded, and sometimes battled, forging connections that expanded knowledge. Innovations such as paper, gunpowder, compasses, and printing emerged from various Asian societies, revolutionizing the world. For example, the invention of paper in ancient China transformed record-keeping and storytelling, eventually reshaping information transmission on a global scale. Gunpowder, originally used for rituals and fireworks, later spread across Eurasia and forever changed warfare. Asia's religious landscape has also shaped humanity in profound ways. Hinduism, Buddhism, Confucianism, Taoism, Judaism, Christianity, and Islam all trace significant roots to this continent. These belief systems emerged in diverse social and political environments, yet each addressed questions central to the human condition. How should one live? What lies beyond life? What is our relationship to the universe? Pilgrimage routes and temples became hubs of exchange, not just of faith, but of literature, medicine, astronomy, and mathematics. Consider an anecdote. A Buddhist monk named Xuanzang, who in the 7th century journeyed from China to India seeking original Buddhist scriptures. He crossed deserts and mountains, braving starvation and bandits, to bring sacred texts back to East Asia. His travels symbolize the intricate pathways of culture through Asia, demonstrating how one person's determination could influence millions. The continent's diversity is reflected not only in religion and languages, but also in cuisine, art, and architecture. Where desert nomads cooked with preserved meats and flatbreads, coastal traders dined on seafood infused with spices carried from distant lands. Where Japanese artisans crafted swords folded thousands of times to achieve strength and beauty, Indian builders carved intricate stone temples decorated with scenes from epic mythology. Behind these achievements, there were also periods of struggle and transformation. Powerful empires rose and fell. The Mongols, under Genghis Khan, created the largest contiguous land empire in history, connecting far-flung regions and accelerating cultural and technological exchange. Yet the rapid expansion brought destruction and fear, reminding us that progress often walks alongside violence. Meanwhile, in the Middle East, the Abbasid Caliphate fostered a golden age of science, philosophy, and medicine, establishing centers of scholarship such as Baghdad's House of Wisdom. Scholars translated texts from Greek, Persian, and Indian sources, fusing knowledge that would eventually help spark the European Renaissance. Asia's contributions to global development were vast, yet often overlooked in Western narratives. As we journey deeper into Asia, we uncover how interconnected human history truly is. What may appear distant in geography or culture reveals surprising links through ancient trade routes, shared innovations, and migratory patterns. The evolution of Asia is inseparable from the evolution of humanity itself. And while the continent's landscapes and languages vary dramatically, the stories that unfold here reveal universal human desires: stability, belonging, exploration, and meaning. The world we know today, its technologies, religions, and economic systems, can trace countless origins to Asia. Yet this story is still unfolding. In the modern era, Asia has become a center of population growth, technological innovation, and shifting geopolitical power. Megacities rise where rice paddies once stretched across the horizon. Satellite images capture light from urban centers burning through the night. Yet in remote mountain villages, traditions remain unchanged for centuries. This contrast between ancient and modern, between spiritual rituals and digital networks, adds complexity to understanding Asia in the 21st century. To appreciate its future trajectory, we must first understand its past. And so, we continue our journey into the heart of this immense continent, uncovering the forces that shaped it, the people who built great civilizations, and the ideas that continue to shape the global story. As we continue our journey across Asia, imagine standing at the edge of the Eurasian steppe as a storm approaches. Dark clouds gather across an endless sea of grass. The wind rolls in powerful waves, and in the distance, horsemen charge across the plains with breathtaking speed. These were the nomadic tribes, Scythians, Turks, Mongols, whose mobility and mastery of mounted warfare shaped vast stretches of history. The steppe, stretching thousands of miles from Eastern Europe to northern China, served as both highway and battlefield. Unlike agricultural societies bounded by cities and terrain, nomadic cultures could appear seemingly out of nowhere, transforming political landscapes and redefining borders overnight. The Mongol Empire, forged by Genghis Khan in the early 13th century, became the largest contiguous empire the world has ever seen. Under his leadership, and that of his descendants, cities fell, cultures collided, and trade routes expanded. Though the Mongols inflicted destruction, they also enforced stability along the Silk Road, enabling merchants to travel with unprecedented safety. Caravanserais, roadside inns, were built along trading routes, providing shelter, market access, and security. For the first time in history, information, goods, and technologies flowed seamlessly across Eurasia, linking distant cultures from China to Persia to Eastern Europe. The Mongols were not alone in shaping Asia's destiny. To the southwest, empires rose and fell in Persia and the broader Middle East. Ancient Persia stood at the crossroads of trade and conquest, uniting diverse populations through tolerance and administrative innovation. The Persian kings built massive road systems and postal relays that linked their empire, facilitating communication and governance. Later, Islamic caliphates transformed the region into a center of intellectual and scientific advancement. Baghdad's scholars translated philosophical and mathematical works from Greek and Indian sources, preserving and expanding knowledge that would eventually shape the Western Enlightenment. South Asia charted its own paths of rise and reinvention. The Maurya Empire under Ashoka unified much of the Indian subcontinent in the 3rd century BCE. Ashoka, once a fierce conqueror, later embraced Buddhism, spreading its teachings across Asia. Centuries afterward, the Mughal Empire wove together Persian, Indian, and Central Asian influences, leaving behind architectural wonders, rich literature, and artistic innovations. The Taj Mahal, shimmering in white marble along the Yamuna River, remains a symbol of enduring love and imperial ambition. Southeast Asia evolved as a maritime crossroads, connected by waves instead of deserts and mountain ranges. The kingdoms of Srivijaya and Majapahit dominated maritime trade, controlling the flow of spices, timber, and precious metals. Traders from China, India, Arabia, and later Europe navigated treacherous waters and monsoon winds, linking distant markets and cultures. In this region, Islam spread peacefully through trade networks, blending with local traditions to form unique expressions of faith and identity. In East Asia, dynasties rose and fell across centuries, shaping art, philosophy, and governance. The Tang dynasty opened China to unprecedented cultural exchange. The Song dynasty advanced technology through innovations like movable type printing and magnetic compasses, enabling maritime navigation across vast oceans. The Ming dynasty restored Chinese dominance after Mongol rule and launched ambitious voyages led by the Admiral Zheng He. His fleets, comprised of massive ships, sailed across the Indian Ocean decades before European explorers ventured beyond their shores. These expeditions showcased imperial power and stimulated cultural and economic connections. As we follow history's flow into the early modern era, Asia becomes entangled in global power struggles ignited by European expansion. Driven by profit and ideology, European empires sought access to Asian markets, resources, and populations. Colonialism reshaped economies. Local industries were dismantled or restructured to serve foreign demand. Borders were drawn and redrawn, often dividing ethnic and cultural groups with little regard for social cohesion. Under colonial rule, social hierarchies hardened, extractive economies flourished, and cultural suppression deepened resentment and nationalist aspirations. Despite subjugation, resilience emerged across Asia. Resistance movements, sometimes armed, sometimes diplomatic, sometimes philosophical, grew steadily. In India, Mahatma Gandhi pioneered nonviolent resistance that later inspired civil rights leaders worldwide. In China, internal conflict ignited revolutionary movements that reshaped the modern nation. Korea was divided by competing global ideologies, a division that still reverberates today. After World War II, the colonial order collapsed. Newly independent nations faced daunting challenges, rebuilding infrastructure, forming governance systems, and forging identities. In many cases, colonial borders remained, creating complex legacies and tensions that persist across Asia. Yet amidst this upheaval, Asia experienced extraordinary transformation. Japan rose from wartime devastation to become a global economic powerhouse. South Korea invested heavily in education, technology, and industry, evolving into one of the world's most technologically advanced societies. China, through economic reforms, lifted hundreds of millions out of poverty and emerged as a leading global competitor. India expanded its democratic institutions, and Southeast Asia rapidly industrialized, forming regional alliances like ASEAN to support collective development. Today, Asia sits at the center of global geopolitical and economic shifts. Its megacities, Tokyo, Shanghai, Mumbai, Seoul, Jakarta, and Bangkok, exemplify rapid urbanization and innovation. High-speed rail networks, advanced manufacturing, and cultural exports reshape perceptions of modern Asia worldwide. Yet beyond the skylines and maritime ports lie deep-rooted traditions, preserved in temples, festivals, food, and language. In rural regions, farming cycles still depend on seasonal rains, and ancient irrigation techniques coexist with satellite-based weather forecasting. Asia's story is not one of uniform triumph or decline. It is a story of complexity, contradiction, and resilience. Religions coexist and sometimes clash. Modernization brings prosperity but strains ecosystems. Technological breakthroughs open opportunities but deepen socioeconomic divides. Geopolitical tensions simmer along borders from Kashmir to the South China Sea, where ancient territorial claims collide with contemporary military interests. As we near the final part of our journey, we recognize that Asia is not simply a region of sweeping historical movements and dramatic landscape contrasts. It is a continent composed of billions of lived experiences, each shaped by inherited traditions, personal aspirations, and collective memory. To understand Asia is to acknowledge that its story remains unfinished. The sun begins to rise over Asia once more. Its first light touches the peaks of the Himalayas, illuminating a frozen world that feeds rivers sustaining nearly 2 billion people downstream. It warms the terraced hillsides of Nepal and Bhutan, then spreads slowly across the plains of India and Pakistan, regions bound by shared histories and layered identities. The sun continues eastward over the bustling streets of Bangkok, the rice paddies of Vietnam, the air-conditioned towers of Singapore, before gliding across the South China Sea, reflecting off the steel and glass of Hong Kong and Shanghai. Finally, it reaches the neon-lit avenues of Tokyo and Seoul, where the day is already alive with movement, innovation, and ambition. Across this vast space and within this single morning, Asia reveals itself not merely as a place, but as a dynamic force, a network of ancient cultures and modern aspirations coexisting, colliding, and evolving. As the world's most populous continent, home to more than 4.7 billion people, Asia represents a critical chapter in humanity's shared future. Its decisions, innovations, and challenges will echo across the globe for generations. Asia's story stretches back to the earliest moments of human civilization. It is the birthplace of major world religions: Hinduism, Buddhism, Islam, and Confucianism, spiritual and ethical systems that continue to guide billions of lives. The continent nurtured scientific and mathematical breakthroughs, the concept of zero in India, papermaking and gunpowder in China, and sophisticated navigation techniques in the Pacific. These innovations shaped global progress, even as Asia absorbed influences and ideas carried by travelers, merchants, missionaries, conquerors, and colonists. Today, Asia's monumental rise raises profound questions for the world. How will the continent balance economic growth with environmental stewardship? Glaciers in the Himalayas, once reliable sources of fresh water, are retreating due to rising temperatures. Sea levels threaten coastal megacities like Bangkok, Manila, and Jakarta, while extreme weather patterns disrupt agriculture across Southeast and South Asia. Yet the region invests heavily in renewable energy, transportation electrification, and climate resilience, recognizing that its future depends on harmonizing development with sustainability. Technological advancement accelerates rapidly across Asia. Nations compete to lead in semiconductors, artificial intelligence, and biotechnology. Silicon Valley remains influential, but Asia now hosts major innovation hubs, from Shenzhen's electronics manufacturing ecosystems to Bengaluru's booming software sector. These developments raise opportunities for prosperity, but also concerns about automation, data privacy, and geopolitical rivalry. Meanwhile, cultural exchange deepens worldwide. K-pop, Bollywood, anime, and Asian cuisines reshape global culture, reaching audiences far beyond geographical borders. Migration, tourism, and digital connectivity blend traditions, spark creativity, and foster empathy across continents. Yet even as Asia grows more connected internally and globally, tensions simmer beneath the surface. Territorial disputes, historical grievances, and ideological conflicts pose significant challenges to peace and cooperation, reminding us of the fragility of progress. Ultimately, Asia embodies a paradox: ancient and futuristic, interconnected yet diverse, resilient but vulnerable. The continent is a mirror reflecting humanity's greatest challenges and most inspiring possibilities. Its story is not predetermined. It is written daily through the actions of individuals, communities, and nations. The future of Asia will depend on decisions made today: how societies manage resources, resolve conflicts, protect cultural heritage, and embrace innovation responsibly. If history offers lessons, it is that Asia's people have repeatedly adapted, rebuilt, and reimagined their world. Their shared resilience may prove essential once again, shaping not only Asia's destiny but humanity's collective path. As this documentary draws to its close, imagine one final scene. The sun has now completed its passage over the continent and slips beneath the horizon of the Pacific Ocean. But for billions of people in Asia, life continues. Night markets glow beneath swaying lanterns. Prayer calls echo across ancient cities. Families gather for dinner. Engineers refine prototypes. Monks meditate beneath starlit skies. Students study late into the night, dreaming of futures limited only by imagination. This is Asia, endlessly layered, perpetually evolving, rich with memory and possibility. Its influence reaches every corner of our planet, shaping economies, cultures, and ideas. To understand Asia is to understand ourselves, our shared past, and our collective future. Thank you for joining this journey across the world's largest and most diverse continent. If you found this exploration meaningful, please consider subscribing to the channel, sharing your thoughts in the comments, and sharing this documentary with others who might appreciate it. Together, we continue learning, questioning, and shaping the story of humanity.